Our devotional thought from the Old Testament today is from our readings in the book of Genesis chapter 24. Genesis chapter 24. I want us to look at verse 4. Abraham tells his servant, "Go instead to my homeland, to my relatives, and find a wife there for my son Isaac." Now, Isaac is going to be part of this destiny of the creation of a nation. He's a child of covenant promise. He came from a covenant promise, and he is going to be the one that will one day receive all of this land. This is a very important young man, and who he marries is very important for the covenant also. So Abraham takes real strong consideration. Now, my son Isaac needs a wife, and we need to carry on this covenant to the next generation. But he can't just marry some bimbo. He can't just marry some worthless girl. He's got to marry someone of quality, someone who won't destroy his spiritual walk with God, someone who will help him in his walk from God. So he says, I want you to go to my relatives, to my homeland, and find a wife there for my son Isaac. Look at verse 6 and 7. No, Abraham responded, be careful never to take my son there. For the Lord, the God of heaven, who took me from my father's house and my native land, solemnly promised to give this land to my descendants. He will send his angel ahead of you, and he will see to it that you find a wife there for my son. So Abraham's faith was flowing for this wife of his son. Sometimes, moms and dads, I think we need to have our faith flowing more for the wives and husbands of our children. He said, you will find a wife there for my son. But he was very determined about what type of a woman he wanted for his son. Now, why was it that he was so insistent that they go back to the land where he had come from to find a wife? Well, I want you to notice in Genesis chapter 24, verse 50 and 51. Listen to what Laban and Bethuel reply. The Lord has obviously brought you here. Whoa, wait a minute. The Lord. So these people speak about God like people who know him. The Lord has obviously brought you here. So there's nothing that we can say. So they obviously know God, and they are submissive to the will of God. Here is Rebekah, take her and go. Yes, let her be the wife of your master's son, as the Lord has directed. Now we begin to see why Abraham wanted his wife to come from there. These were people who believed in God. These were people who had a submissive heart to God. Now, yes, other Bible stories tell us about their shortfalls and their mistakes and their failings also. Yes, I understand. But they knew who God was, and they knew his power, and they were willing to be submissive and obedient to God. In other words, Abraham wanted his son to marry a Christian wife. Okay, to put it in our terms today. 2 Corinthians 6, verse 14. English Standard Version. Do not be unequally yoked with unbelievers. For what partnership has righteousness with lawlessness, or what fellowship has light with darkness? Parents, from the time our kids are little, we need to remind them. We need to begin to direct their hearts a little bit with the young men. Direct the hearts of the young men not to be interested in the sexy girl, but to be interested in the Christian girl. Direct the hearts of the young ladies not to be interested in the macho guy who's getting drunk. And, why is it that girls are attracted to bad boys? I've never figured that out. But how to teach our daughters to be interested in the Christian boy. And then really, really, we work with them on this from the time that they're little. We need to use our faith, our prayer, as well as our instruction, so that the future promises, because each one of our families has a generational promise. There are promises that God has made to our family. I recognize that I'm walking in the promises that God made to my grandfather and to my great uncle. And my daughter will walk in those promises next. Each one of our families has promises, covenants that God has made through the years. And you say, well, Pastor, my family's not Christian. Well, you're the first generation, and God will make promises to you for the next. We need to make sure that those covenants and promises can be fulfilled because they marry people who will help them be close to God and not turn from God.